Meeps, Rigaroga, and you're you, and we're going to check out Ultraviolet Grasslands. In my brain, I have to like pay really close attention because I keep trying to say ultraviolent, sort of Clockwork Orangey kind of stuff. But no, this is a different thing. And I was a backer of this in when it was crowdfunding, and the essentially the final PDF, the digital. I was a digital supporter, so I got the PDF. I also got the dice, and I don't have those yet. There's some custom dice that come with this that are going to be really interesting because there's a different mechanic with these dice because they use Roman numerals on them, and so there's an option to do something different, and so that's going to be fun to explore. So when I get those, I'll share those and we'll start using them. But in the meantime, let's take a look and just sort of do an intro, and then I'll do a little paper craft. I printed out the map from the PDF. We'll construct the map, and then I think next session we'll start creating some characters, and then we'll dive into it. So let's start off by taking a look at this psychedelic brain warping color scheme. So this is Ultraviolet Grasslands and the Black City, psychedelic metal role playing by WizardThiefFighter Studios and Exalted Funeral Press. Luka Rejec is the author and illustrator, and basically did everything for the book. Really a lot of work, and he had some stuff come up while the prep was being done that delayed it a little bit, but it's all good. So it starts out with a quote from Blue Oyster Cult. There's a lot of influence here from like Mabus and Fantastic Planet. Fantastic Planet. Took me a minute there. I had to actually look it up. But like Heavy Metal, the movie, and the magazine, and Fantastic Planet, and a lot of that sort of really interesting art style. But anyhow, so the very first thing is this quote from "Burnin' for You, Fire of Unknown Origin" by Blue Oyster Cult. I should probably put this in the middle of the screen so I'm sort of vaguely looking at the camera. Time is the essence. Time is the season. Time ain't no reason. Got no time to slow. Time everlasting. Time to play B-sides. Time ain't on my side. Time I'll never know. Burn out the day. Burn out the night. I'm not the one to tell you what's wrong or what's right. I've seen suns that were freezing and lives that were through. So the creator of this had a personal tragedy, and so he dedicated this book to his late father, who passed away while he was trying to finish up everything. So that I know what that's like. It's tough. It's tough dealing with all the not just emotional stuff and things like that, but also just the logistical and legal stuff you got to take care of. It's pretty crazy. Anyhow, so the illustrations in this book are great. I'm gonna skip the intro. Ultraviolet Grasslands is a rules light RPG, point crawl module inspired by psychedelic heavy metal and the Dying Earth genre and Oregon Trail games. It takes a group of heroes, I don't know, into the depths of a vast and mythic steppe, filled with the detritus of space, time, and fuzzy riffs. The UVG is for referees, game masters, judges, players, cats, and fans of RPGs who want to run a months-long science fantasy Marco Polo style voyage across a weird old world. The UVG is for any gamer who wants to mine it for inspiration, adventuring locations, odd characters, map items, and random encounters. The UVG is also an art book, knitting together my art and maps and writing Every nut and fault, from the layout to the Lamarckian monstrosity, is my own. It has been encouraged and made possible by the fantastic support of his fans on Patreon. Thanks to the heroes of Stratometaship. Now enter the silver machine. So you can see there's actually a huge, it's almost 200 pages. Or I think it's 200 pages on PDF. Pretty amazing. So the world's edge. A world begins when it emerges from the mists of time. So it is with the civilizations of the Rainbow Lands, which mark their count from when the long ago ended and the now began. The Rainbow Landers are humans of a later era, undisputed masters of the fertile lands around the Circle Sea, dwellers in the eye of creation. They come in many shapes, colors, creeds, and faiths. They pile unkempt technology and misremembered lore together into a teetering whole. They rule the settled lands under their polychrome deities of ill repute. This story is not theirs. This story begins at the edge of their world, at the left end of the right road, at the westernmost outpost of humanity, the Violet City, bastion against the hordes, entrepot to the exotic sunset lands, and last port of civilization before the trackless steppe studded with the detritus of the long ago. The last glimmer of the rainbow before the skin-blistering glow of the ultraviolet grasslands. The hero put the cat coffee in the samovar and rubbed the sleep sand out of their eyes. On the other side of the hot rock, the dwarf rubbed magnetechnical ointment into the joints of his golem armor. That meant it was half an hour to sunrise. Same thing, every day, like clockwork. Perhaps he was clockwork. Everyone said those salters weren't human anymore. The demon talker sat down beside the hero, noiseless as always, yet somehow comforting. The hero passed her a cup. "Ah," she gurgled, "you make the best brew. It almost warms my bones." "We'll all be warm soon," rumbled Eater of the Dead from its sleeping sack. "We're nearly at the Violet City." So one of the things that's interesting about UVG, the author has a system called CCAT, and UVG, the book, has a partial version of CCAT. I think I'm going to try to use that system instead of using, like I've seen Black Hack used with this, and you could use D&D 5e or whatever. So I think I'm going to use that. So we're going to start out by just sort of taking a look at this little bar, and then there's a whole section on CCAT that comes in later. Cat, what are you doing? Come on, out. Come on. Yeah, I know you want to. Do you want to sit in my lap? No, you're going to cuddle. Okay, cat. One of the cats decided to come to visit. Speaking of cats, if you're just reading for the weird world, imagine a character, turn the page, and begin reading the Violet City of the Cats. A few rules will be explained in boxes like this one. But, though the UVG plays fast and loose, there is a solid metal role-playing game skeleton behind the simple notation CCAT. The name of the game comes from the basic stats describing characters: strength, endurance, agility, charisma, aura, and thought. If you want to start by making an explorer, building a caravan, and heading off into the wild and weird, go to Heroes and the Cat on page 133. So we're actually going to do that, but I want to go ahead and just take a quick look at some of the art and things in the book, and then we'll move ahead. Let's just, for entertainment's sake, let's create some, how do you roll a d20 anyway? I mean a d40. So let's go ahead and let's roll a d40 3 times. One dice 3 times. That's weird. This dice roller, it asks you how many times you want to roll it, and then it only rolls twice. Okay, so 23 is wine vampire priest. So who are you? A wine vampire priest. Oh man, wow. Okay, so I'm gonna get out my hipster PDA really quick. I'm just gonna start writing. Wine vampire priest. And why are you on the road? Rumors of a fabulous automated factory? And then starting with, and we'll roll again. And let's do a teal warlock helmet with 3 white stripes. Let's do one more, right? So let's see. Let's roll. So we've got a Safranian merchant adventurer. And why are they on the road? Oh, wow. Soul of a loved one stolen by a horror. Wow. And what are they going to start with? Nice. They're starting with a quartzite tooth of a space worm. That's totally like a Chris knife from Dune or something. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. So that's an idea of, we just rolled up 2 of the different heroes from the table. I may end up using those, so we may come back to those. Yeah. So I mean, so we've got heroes in the cat. Let's take a look really quickly through the book a little bit. Reading the Ultraviolet. Think of the Moore's guidelines, not rules per se. Skitton's 3-horned, counselor and machine whisperer. The dice are not your masters. At the heart of roleplay in UVG is a conversation between players, which creates a shared world. When common sense or uncommon dictates a result, don't bring dice into it. When outcomes are uncertain, the referee suggests a probability and lets the players decide, and suggests a probability and lets the player decide to roll or not for their heroes. However, once the dice do go rolling on the table, they are the oracle and they determine outcomes. You know, it's interesting. The thing that I was thinking about was you could use like a solo oracle for the entire thing. Like, just, I mean, you could have a character and do everything based on oracle questions, like start from nothing and or from the setting and just use the oracle for everything instead of a complicated system. I may try that at one point. It's pretty interesting. So UVG assumes a couple of sets are on hand of regular polyhedral dice, from the D4 to the D20, etc. And yet there are the strange D40s mentioned. So we're going to, like, I used a digital roller for that. Most of the descriptions within the tables and stuff use D20s. It's the core die for the descriptive mechanical skeleton, because it's the author's favorite die, and it has a comfortable flat spread of probabilities. High is good, low is bad. And the stats mechanic, whenever the D20 comes out to determine uncertain outcomes, that's a test. It means D20 plus stat plus skill over target. A common format is easy charisma test, for example. This means rolling a D20 and then adding charisma and a relevant skill to beat an easy target. What's a relevant skill? Well, anything that makes sense. And there's levels, like trivial is 3, easy is 7, moderate 11, difficulty or difficult 15, extreme 19. And only use the tests when they make sense, when possible outcomes make a meaningful difference. Relevant test is a phrase used in the book. This means that the hero can use any combination of stat and skill that makes narrative sense in the circumstance. Oh, that's a pretty good idea. Okay, so now we're getting to the actual content of the stuff, and I don't necessarily want to do that yet. But let's take a look at, I mean, there's so many illustrations on just every page. Luka did an amazing job on all of these. Um, each of the areas has its own look to it. Look at that, three things on that page. Oh, and there's a spread there. Um, all kinds of. You can really get a feel for a travel poster. That's really awesome. Um, all kinds of characters. I may have to skip. This is going through. There's a lot of pages, man. Oh, look at that. Oh, that map is cool. And then the Colossus. That's really cool. Man, there's so much interesting. Whoa, look at that. I don't know what that is yet. Wow. Oh man, so much attitude and mood and style in this. Really awesome. Lots of different locations that we're going to discover as we travel. And then there's this near moon is actually apparently an adventure that or a part of the book that the author sort of came up with at the last minute and sort of shoehorned it in there. Um, so there's all kinds of really interesting stuff. Oh, man, I love this art style. So cool. Look at all these. Really awesome. Now there is also you can get this now both in physical form and digitally, and encourage you to do that. There's also a quick start, so you can take a look at some of the material directly at no cost to get an idea of whether you want this. But I'm sure you do. It's so look at all this art. It's so amazing. I love that one, that orange one up above the skull town. That was one of the I think one of the last illustrations. Um, Anyhow, it was the author tweeted it out as he was working as they were working on stuff, and that one really stuck with me. Oh, that's a really cool one. Wow, man, look at all this stuff. Black City is the last little thing. We'll take a look at the map too as we get here. Oh man, so much cool stuff. God, look at that. So Heroes and the Cat, that's the Sea Cat stuff that we're going to discover. Um, so, it's, and this is the character sheet. This is what it looks like. The, the bottom half is for customization. And the idea is that as what you're doing has to fit on the character sheet. And so you kind of have to do like Tetris. You got to find a way to make stuff fit. Whatever notes and things you need to do have to be on there. So we'll go through making a hero. There's an example. You can see actually how things are filled in. Um, oh yeah, that's cool. Um, and a bunch of skills and how to do conflict, magitech and fantascience, um, experience, quests, time, inventory, and sacks. So this is all how to play, discoveries, destination, starvation, and thirst. So it's going to be a survival kind of thing. And it's really there's a really interesting the Ha-Ka-Ba from Egyptian souls. The body Ha maps to endurance. The soul Ka maps to aura and personality. The Ba maps to charisma. So we're gonna have to figure out so how that affects things like animate dead and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really interesting. And this is a character sheet for the caravan. So the heroes are traveling in a group, and the caravan itself has a personality, some records to keep, sort of like, I mean, an adventuring party, right? But it's a convenient container for that. And then we get in some examples. Now this is the beginning of the map, and I'm actually going to make that today. But this is, so Violet City is right there, and that's essentially the starting spot. And you can see like each of these locations is one of the point crawls, and then there are traveling spaces or traveling trails between each of them. And it goes on for 5 pages. Truly cool, truly cool. And then factions. So I'm gonna have to get used to that. You can meet people, and there's a really cool D100 sort of table with role names, stories, and just sort of a regular coloring phrase. So you can do those separately even. And then equipment lists on all sorts of wacky, weird science tech stuff. Strange items and trade goods. So one of the things is on this caravan trip, what you're doing is you're getting goods and selling them. So you're doing that, that more of the Oregon Trail. Like you've got to get your stuff, and then you can buy and sell things and all sorts of things like that. A bunch of different ideas about what things cost, trade routes, obstacles, rumors and things, and historical periods, and then languages, all kinds of different languages. So there's plenty of opportunity for people not to know what each other are talking about. And then special terms. So there's a glossary. And then there's also some spells, kind of. It's going to be interesting. That's not a full list as far as like CCAT, the full system has, but there's definitely some really cool stuff in here as far as examples of what you can do. And then thanks to the patrons, and an index. And then this is a thing that is on the last page, and this is the first mention of Ultraviolet Grasslands from an in-play map that the author had created. So this is the very first instance of Ultraviolet Grasslands. That's pretty cool. So that's the book, and then the thing to do next, I think, I'm just going to do a little bit of paperwork for this session, and then we'll call it. And then next session, I'll go ahead and create some characters, and then we'll start out. So I think actually the first thing I want to do is I want to bring out. I've got some character sheets and caravan sheets, but I've got the big map, and so I want to construct. I want to go ahead and construct that. So let's do that. Okay. So this is the big map. And you can see, so it starts here, the big map. And it starts here, Violet City. And we've got a westward journey all the way along. All of these points, and then to Black City at the other end. So I don't know how this is going to work for the purposes of this game playing, because obviously it's a little bit too big for the screen. I don't know. But anyhow, so I've got the big map, and I can play with that. You know, I need to like have it like you know how you mark off how far you've grown every year. Let's put that on the wall and sort of like measure off. Okay, well, on this date we made it to there. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, so thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making the map, and we'll go ahead and close this out, and I will make characters in the next session. So thanks for dropping in, and yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.